You've done everything that they told you to do, right? Like you've worked on yourself, you've grown as a person, you've done some healing work, maybe not all of it, but you've been there. And if you're finding that there's still this discomfort in your skin, in who you be in the world, this quiet, persistent something in your life that feels like it doesn't fit, not your business, not your ambition, not your capacity for love, but something deeper, right? Something about who you be. Like maybe the life that you've been building was designed for someone else. Know, my friend, that if any of that experience lands, you're not alone. And today we're diving into that. Today we are going to work our way back into the only question that actually matters, and a question that I think not enough of us have asked, which is not what's normal or who should I be or what should I achieve, but what is true for you. Welcome, my friend, to another Catalyst conversation for a relationship revolution. Here, we challenge the unquestioned assumptions about life, love, and leadership. We disrupt the patterns that have been keeping you stuck, and we reveal the truths that no one has taught you. Here, we activate new ways of leading relationships, consciously, courageously, differently, and dare I say, better. Why? Because I want you to be able to have the kind of relationships and life that most people only dream of. I'm so glad that you are here. Are you ready? Let's get into it. So, we are currently in the month of June, our Proud Love series. And I chose that name intentionally, not just because it's Pride Month, but because pride, in the truest sense, is what happens when you stop hiding the parts of yourself that don't fit the script and start owning them fully. This is episode 3, and today is a day I want to mark with intention because we are airing this episode on Juneteenth, a day of liberation, of truth, of reclaiming what was always meant to be free. And as it happens, today is also our guest's birthday. So this episode is a gift in every sense of the word. This series is for every person who has loved in a way that didn't match the template, who has desired something outside of the lines, who has wondered if there's something wrong with them for wanting to be who they are, wanting what they want, or building relationships that look different from everyone else around them. There is nothing wrong with you. There is, however, a script, a set of inherited, unexamined rules about who you're supposed to be and how you're supposed to love. And this month, we are disrupting it. Conversation by conversation, truth by truth. This is Proud Love. Happy Juneteenth and happy birthday to our upcoming guest, Kelz. I can't wait for you to meet them. But before I bring them on stage, let me take a moment to introduce myself for those of you who are new to me or my work. My name is Dr. Jeni Wahlig. I am an award-winning relationship mentor, speaker, author, intuitive guide, and relationship revolutionary. My mission is to revolutionize how we think about and go about our relationships, and to redefine what it means to love so that we may all experience the true power and possibilities that our relationships have to offer us. Because nothing, truly nothing, impacts the quality of our lives more than the quality of our relationships. And we are in relationship all the time, in every corner of our lives, including a relationship with ourselves. Relationships are the infrastructure of everything else we try to build in our lives. And most of us have never learned how to do them well, let alone how to lead them consciously or relationally, especially when they get challenging. Much of what we have learned doesn't work. It also keeps us stuck and unhappy. And this is even more so the case when we are trying to engage in relationships or self that lives outside of the box. So this revolution that I'm all about is a great global healing through what it really means to love. It's a return from our separation and into wholeness, a paradigm shift in the way all of humanity relates, loves, leads, starting at our most intimate levels. In these catalyst conversations, my goal isn't just to give you insight. It is to wake something up within you so that you may be part of this revolution too. Now, our guest today is Kelz Cousins. They are a therapist, an educator, a public health advocate, and an artist whose work sits at the intersection of mental health, sexuality, identity, and fucking liberation. Kelz specializes in working with queer communities, consensually non-monogamous relationships, kink, neurodivergence, and others who are building lives that were never part of the standard template. Their work is grounded in liberation, pleasure, informed consent, and a deep belief that healing is shaped not just by individual experience, but by the systems and communities we live in. And today, on Juneteenth and their friggin' birthday, Kelz, welcome to Catalyst Conversations for a Relationship Revolution. I'm so honored that you are here with us.
Thank you so much. I just need to give this to you and your whole spiel at the beginning. It's so beautiful, and I'm so grateful to be a part of this.
Oh, thank you. And this is such an important conversation, I think, particularly in this month. I mean, for every month, every day, this conversation matters for those who are living it and moving through it. And even those outside of the queer and trans communities, this conversation is relevant because it's a conversation about figuring out the truth of who we are and questioning those scripts, those roles, those ideas, those shoulds about our lives that may be keeping us stuck. So I want to start our conversation by asking you to share, why is this conversation important to you? Why was this the message that you wanted to bring to our audiences?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, it's super personal. You grow up and you do what your parents and what society tells you to do. They don't even tell you necessarily. You just learn
Right.
through the media, through jokes that are said, through little things of oh, you're gonna break boys' hearts when you get older, things like that. It's just mononormativity, heteronormativity, cisnormativity, all these norms are just baked in, and we have this script to follow. And I was following that script, even though I was, well, I do like people of all genders, but at least I also like cis men. So I'm just gonna go the road that is the easiest in our society. I couldn't keep living like that though, and all of those same things for sexuality, for gender, for relationship structure, for how I have sex, following those scripts. And so I am here kind of on the other side, although it's always a journey. Just so grateful to be who I always have been outwardly and be living like this, to the point where, it is what drives my practice. It's what drives my art. Because even like you were saying, people who maybe aren't part of the queer community, the freedom and liberation that comes from just I don't have to do it this way. Actually, these ways were created to keep me in line to capitalism, to
patriarchy,
all the patriarchy, yes, all the oppressive systems. And,
yeah.
and we are complicit and part of those systems by not questioning them. So I want people, maybe you're not pansexual, maybe you're not gay, maybe you're not polyamorous, but have you actually chosen monogamy, or did you just fall into that? And so it's personal, and I want people to make informed, consensual choices for themselves in their life in every aspect.
In every aspect. I so love that, Kelz. And I love that you use the word liberation, because that is a huge part of the work that we do with our clients. For me, it is one of the 3 pillars of our methodology, because to be able to have the kind of love, relationships, and life that we have, there is a huge aspect of liberating ourselves from these scripts, from these stories, from these shoulds and these boxes that we have never consciously, consensually chosen for ourselves. And it's a whole other ball game when you're choosing it sovereignly, and you maybe make the same choice, but you're doing it now because you're informed, because you're conscious of it, and not because it's the default that you should be into. And that is freedom.
Yeah. Yeah.
So why do you think that so few people in their journeys, until they hit maybe high stress, high tension points of like, I can't keep living like this, but because I do think that this applies to everybody, why do you think so few people actually stop to ask whether the script that they're performing or they're playing out is what they actually desire, what is in true alignment for their life or their best interest?
Yeah. I think a lot of it is that we don't grow up in a lot of spaces that question in general. And we grow up in some of those echo chambers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So everything that we're around is what we've been told. And so seeing some of those other possibilities is really hard. There's that story of like the fleas in the jar, and they can only jump so high because the jar is closed, and you open the jar and they still only jump that high because they've been conditioned. And we are those fleas. Like, we're not jumping. We could jump out of the freaking container.
Yes,
we could.
Yeah.
But we're not, because we don't know that. And that's the way the systems were created.
Mm-hmm.
So there's everything about our society is trying to keep us in that jar, until something happens, until you meet someone, until like there has to be something that shakes it up. And wouldn't it be amazing if we just like were born into like families or chosen families or just communities that like taught us this from the beginning? Like, you have all these options.
Yes. Yeah, it certainly would have changed my life story, right? Like my first episode in this series was sharing my own journey of identity, and so much of the struggle and the pain that I carried over years in thinking something was wrong with me was because I had no idea that there was even anything else possible. It was just this binary, or just this option, or maybe that option, and nothing else. And because I never fit those perfectly, it was like it created a lot of confusion, a lot of shame, a lot of struggle. And I think you're absolutely right. Like, it would be life-changing for so many people if we just were part of a culture that kept the jar open from the beginning.
Yes. Oh, I love that. Hey, keep that jar open.
Yeah. Like, right. That's like, hey, the sky's the limit, and the sky doesn't even exist. Like, we could go wherever you want. You can be whoever you want. This can look like anything. Here's one way, but it's just one way, and you get to design it your way. Yeah. And here are some examples of what that can look like, because you're absolutely right. Like, we need to have a vision. We need to kind of see other possibilities, which is, again, why I think this conversation is so important.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's so much that you can learn from the other possibilities. Yeah. Without even going down those routes. I was just talking with my partner, and I was like, I freeze? No.
You did.
Oh, no.
You did. You went quiet. I was like, oh no, are they still talking? Okay. All right.
I'm back.
It's okay. Sorry. It's okay. No big deal.
The things that I learn about relationships in general, whether monogamous, polyamorous, open, whatever, from the work that the polyamorous community has done and is getting out there, and or even from kinkiness that can be applied to literally every single relationship. I'm not even just talking about sexual or romantic. Like I apply my poly knowledge to my platonic partner / best friend, to my daughter, to my co-parent, you know, and it has made those relationships so much richer. But I wouldn't know that if I hadn't opened my eyes or opened my heart to other ways of seeing and being and relating.
That is so good. That's so rich and so true. And it makes me think about my own experiences, you know, working with people in different relational and identity intersections, and how much that has helped develop me as a human being as well, and expand my own options for myself. And I think that's one of the gifts of being like a therapist or a coach or a mentor in the world, is we get that opportunity. And it's not the only way, but and I'll say, like, what we're talking about, to because we're not yet in a system that supports this out of the box living and being, we need to start asking those questions ourselves, of like, what is true for me? Is this something I'm choosing? Is this aligned for me? What other possibilities are out there? And as we start asking those questions, I think we start to find that people and teachers and books and resources, they come into our life to help us answer that.
Yeah. And something that came up for me when you were talking about that is there's so much fear in even questioning. There's so much fear in, am I going to be alone? Am I going to lose friends, lose relationships?
Real.
Am I going to find something out about myself that I don't want to find out?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that keeps us in our box.
Yep.
And like that fear is legit. Like that's valid.
Oh yeah.
And for me, when I was living where my fear was constraining me, I wasn't liberated. I wasn't free. I had happy moments. I wasn't like, but it's a different way of like living life. When you get past some of that fear and bravely step into some of those questions. And you know what? I lost friends. I literally, my best friends of 18 years wrote me an email and said that I was too queer. I had always been out, but I married a cis man. We got divorced, and then I was with a trans man and polyamorous. I was too queer.
Wow.
I lost them. But this part of my becoming couldn't be still with them. And, you know, I think about it. I have tears in my eyes right now. We were best friends for 18 years. But I can have both that grief and the freedom that has come with that, like, separation. I had to get over my fear of things like that, or even with my family, who's still there and wonderful, but I still had the fear to be able to move through it and do the questioning.
Yeah. Yeah. I really appreciate you bringing that up, Kelz, because I think especially now in the current cultural and political climate in a lot of places in our country and other places in the world, like safety concerns, not just our emotional safety of relationships ending, but our physical safety, our ability to get and keep jobs or housing or keep our kids. Like those are real valid concerns. And even asking these questions, you're right, like just asking them opens the door internally to having to confront the answers and what that means.
Yeah.
But I want to name, you know, something that I don't think gets talked about enough, which is that, which you're bringing into this conversation so beautifully, which is the idea of informed consent, which is the idea of choice. because even if you come up to an answer or a recognition about yourself or the scripts that you're playing out, you get to choose whether you keep doing that.
Mm-hmm.
No, and it makes me think, I had a client once who was a trans woman, deeply, deeply in love with her wife, and her wife could not get on board with my client transitioning. And so
Mm-hmm.
she knew, she was fully informed that if she chose to transition and express her identity in its fullness, she would blow up her life and lose her marriage to her best friend and everything that they had built together in that relationship. And so she made the conscious and sovereign choice not to continue wearing the mask of a man and playing out the script of a man, except for in the small little pockets of her life where people knew who she knew herself to be. Um, and that was a different kind of pain and challenge, but it was the pain and challenge that she chose for herself because it felt like a better pain and challenge than the pain and challenge of the loss that she knew she would go through. And I think, I don't know about your experience, but I think in the queer and trans community, sometimes there can be this pressure, whether externally or internally, to come out or to, if you know who you are, to then like be that in the world. And I think it's really important to name that you get to choose love. You get
Yeah.
to choose, and it's all okay. What we're talking about here is the liberation, the freedom in the knowing and the consciously, consensually choosing of who you want to be and how you want to live.
Yeah, I love that so much because we have to know that we don't live in a vacuum.
Mhm.
Every one of our choices impacts other people, and we are impacted by so much, right? So like talking about the safety, talking about my relationship versus the expression of my identity,
Mhm.
those are tough things to balance and or choose between. And it's so great. I'm so grateful that they had somebody to like walk alongside in that journey,
Mhm.
because I do think that so often it's black or white, and or like you're saying in the queer community, it's like be proud of who you are. You have to come out and blah 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 blah. Blah. There's so many different ways of being proud of who you are.
Yeah.
You know what is your goal in this moment? If your goal in this moment is to keep this relationship,
Mhm.
is there anything that you could do to change what that relationship looks like and still keep it and do this, or maybe not? I love that they still have those safe spaces. Once again, the opportunities are endless. Like we don't have to be black and white. We can live in the rainbow.
Yeah. Mhm. Mhm. Exactly. Exactly. Like in my example, my client didn't just, she wasn't just like, well, I either transition or I don't.
Right.
Right? It was like, I don't go through these steps of transition, but and I claim my name, and I have
Mm,
certain people in my life who refer to me by my chosen name.
right.
I have spaces where I get to be my authentic self, right? So there was still an honoring of identity.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's a possibility she created for herself because originally it was not one that she thought was possible.
Yeah. And we don't owe anybody a basically we're just hopping from one script to the other,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We don't owe anybody that like performative queerness, or
Mhm.
so what does this look like for you and what you envision to be your best life right now, right?
Mhm. Yes.
I,
Yeah.
I went through that a lot with my gender identity. Um, Grew up, and I from a very young age was like, I'm turning what it means to be a woman upside down. I was so mad whenever anybody came to the door, like to our classroom. It was like, "Can I have 5 strong men to carry the chairs?" And I
Mm,
would just get up. I wouldn't even talk. I'm like, I'm not asking permission. I'm getting up. I'm gonna.
I love that. Oh, no. We lost Kelz. I'm sure they will be back.
Oh no. Okay. This is such a bummer.
It's okay.
So I would carry all the chairs. Did we get to this part?
Okay. Yeah.
and like, I'm like, I'm strong. Men are not the only ones that are strong. So I'm like flipping it upside down. And then this whole idea of like gender fluid and non-binary came, it's always existed, right? Like,
yeah.
And I never heard of it because I was living in my bubble. And, but it came a little bit more popular and all of that. And I was like, well, I don't want to jump on this just because it's popular. So that's myself like, oh, I'm not going to like that thing because it's popular. And so I'm like, I'm not non-binary. I'm still turning it upside down and all of that. And I kept working with the queer community because I was queer and I'm like, and came to this point where I'm like, well, I'm not a woman actually. And for myself, I don't have, I was saying earlier to you, how I don't necessarily say that I'm non-binary. My framework of the world is non-binary.
Love that.
But so I'm genderqueer, I'm queer, I'm gender non-conform, whatever that is. I just don't think that there is currently language, at least not in the English language, that fully explains what I feel as far as gender, because gender is a social construct that we have created. We have made binary. It has been upheld by Christianity and other Abrahamic religions usually, and others. It has been upheld by the laws and the nuclear family and insurance. I mean, right? Yeah. And so getting outside of that binary and realizing, oh no, there's not a script. Oh no, I don't know where to go with this. And then being forced into this like, okay, but non-binary looks like this. Non-binary looks androgynous. Non-binary wears these clothes and cuts their hair, actually, like the undercoat, whatever.
What are you talking about?
But I know, right? Like, I'm not queer. But I needed to not jump from one script to the other. And so I was like, I want to wear what I want to wear, but I also want to be read as queer, but I also, what do I do with all of this?
Yep.
And this is where I've landed now. It is what it is. I am in a 24/7 DS relationship. So I'm like, do I need to explain these things for
Probably.
people?
I don't know that everybody knows what DS. I know what it means, but to anyone who may not.
Yes. So in BDSM, you have the DS would be the dom and submissive. And so I am the S, or I'm on the S side of the slash, and I am a 24/7 sub. I'm collared. This is my collar. And I have given my king hair. He has control over my hair, and he recently wanted it cut short, and I had, until that point, my hair was actually very much like yours, long and curly on one side.
Yeah, I think that's how the picture is for the podcast.
No, it's curly but still short, so sometimes I wear it here, sometimes
okay.
And I was too afraid to cut it short because of what it meant, both in like the society that is like the norms, and because I was like, that's too androgynous. I don't want to go straight to this non-binary script.
Yeah.
But he was like, you're gonna look great in it. And I do. I love it, and it feels more me. And now I can't imagine really having that long hair anymore. But it took like that kind of push. And that's why I'm in this DS relationship in many ways. He knows what's better for me sometimes. But yeah, it's so interesting how we can just like flip from one script to the other, or we're always looking for you should do, or here's the list of how to be or how to do, and really that doesn't actually exist.
Yeah. It's, it makes me think about all of the other places in my life where I'm looking for the script, right? Looking for the answer, looking for how should I be? How should I act? Like, what does a relationship coach look like and act like? What does a millionaire look like and act like? What does a genderqueer person look like and act like? What does a parent, what does a mom look like? And right. And I'm really blessed because I have a mentor who is amazing and all about like sovereign identity. And what I've found is that this work of questioning everything, of really tuning in to who I am. How do I want my business to look? How do I want to move through the world? How do I want to be a mom? Can I give myself permission for that? What do I want to wear today or to that conference or that professional networking event? What feels like me?
Yes.
And I think that it's there's so many layers of shoulds, of societal expectations that we really, a lot of us, not only do we not realize we can question this, but then when we start to, it takes some time and energy to find those answers.
Yeah.
And they may not be answers that you stay with because they get to evolve as we go deeper in the layers of self, or as we play with different ways of being in the world.
Yes.
And that all of that is okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I know, I think some people think like if I come out as this, or if I do this, or if I change my name, it's like a permanent thing.
Yeah.
And I can't go back.
Yep.
In some ways you can't undo what you've done or what you've chosen, but you can move forward.
Yeah.
And you can change.
Yeah.
And it's okay to you did it once, it's okay to do it again. That's kind of life. It's I will always wonder, like, the people who are like, you changed so much. I'm like, no, I'm still me. Like, the core is still me. And yet I'm figuring out life. This is what figuring out life looks like.
Yes. Yes. Oh, so powerful. So I'm going to like change gears a little bit because I know that in your story, you actually were on a path to prepare for ministry and as a conservative evangelical Christian, and that's a big turn. And I know that like the religious, the scripts, the doctrine, the communities, the culture, the internalized belief systems that a lot of people feel good about or have felt good about through their lives. There's a dissonance that happens when they realize that how they want to live, how they want to love, who they want to be isn't acceptable in that culture.
Yeah.
How did you navigate that, and what would you say about this questioning and identity exploration journey for those who are coming up against, but my religion, but my like identity as a Christian or Muslim or whatever it may be, right?
Yeah. I feel like this could be like a 3-hour.
I'm sure it could. It was a big question.
Yeah. So first of all, you don't have to make any big declarations in a day. I feel this and now, oh no. Second of all, being Christian, being Muslim, being whatever can look different. Although even if you want to, if you still have some of those beliefs, but the community around you doesn't support that, you might have to find other community. And it might be like we're talking about that fear. And that community or that religion also might not be for you. I went on this long journey. I have my master's in divinity. I actually internally left Christianity in the middle of getting my master's in divinity.
Wow.
But I had paid a lot of time and money into that thing, so I was going to finish it.
Yeah.
But it took me a while to leave that community, and I still grieve parts of that community, not necessarily the doctrine and all of that, but like I had like a family that I went to consistently, and we kept each other accountable, and there was love there, and I liked to sing. Like I don't have a place to sing anymore. So like, I mean, I sing all the time, but like in a group in that way.
Yeah, like in a choir and community.
Yeah. And so I was in my second year of the MDiv, and I had actually been able to do a bunch of like I went to school in Nairobi, Kenya, and I got to do a lot of papers where I just went out and interviewed a whole bunch of different people. And so I was in like African traditional religion class, and I was in contemporary religion class, and I was in Islam in Africa class. And so I would go and talk to people who believed all different things. And the papers were supposed to be like, how would you evangelize these folks? And I was like, oh gosh, there are so many people in this world who believe so many different things, and a lot of them believe it because that's what they were born in. We're back to the scripts,
right?
And oh no, maybe this isn't the only way, you know? And so going on that journey of questioning the idea of only way, and I eventually kind of pendulum swung and was like, I'm atheist and no spirituality and blah, 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 blah. And now I feel like I'm kind of back to the middle where I'm talking about like, I've kind of reclaimed that I am spiritual. I believe we are all connected, whether, you know, through energy and across time and all these different things. But I needed, just like everything else, just like my gender, just like my sexuality, just like all these other things, I needed to be able to question it first. I needed to be able to take that journey in order to be where I'm at now. And where I'm at now is probably not going to be where I'm at in 10 years. But I do know that I'm not going to be not questioning things.
Yes.
And it's just another part of that liberation. And I appreciate religion or spirituality, spiritual traditions for what it can bring to people. It brings those answers to big questions. Where did we come from? What are we supposed to do? And it kind of does give you that checklist that a lot of people are looking for. It's so much harder to live in ambiguity and to actually say, I don't know.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, but that's where I'm choosing with informed consent to live. And I have found that living in that space has brought me so much more pleasure in everything that I do.
Yeah. Yep. Thank you. I appreciate you sharing that. And it reminds me that well, a couple of things. It reminds me again of how much courage this journey takes. And it reminds me of the way that like consciously, consensually choosing our lives as opposed to being in the default or the script, scary as it is, however that looks, brings us so much freedom. And just the experience of freedom, of that liberation, opens the door to a different level of alignment and joy and pleasure and just resonance with this beautiful life that we get to have.
Yeah.
But I also want to bring up the wheel of consent, because you talk about informed consent a lot. And I think that many people maybe have not ever heard of the wheel of consent as like a tool. And I think that it can be a really powerful and helpful tool for folks to bring awareness to what that actually means to have informed consent in our lives. So can
Yeah.
you share a little bit about what that is and how people might
Yeah.
use it for their own questioning journeys?
Do you provide links with your
Yeah, I
okay,
can put a
so
link in the description to the
great,
wheel.
because I pulled it up. I don't know if people can see it, but I really want people to be able to see the actual wheel. It's
Mhm.
because it is a very different way of thinking about consent. I think popular culture has said that consent needs to be a hell yes,
Mhm.
which in some ways I agree.
Mhm.
I'm a very much like, and if we look at the wheel of consent, we're talking about giving and receiving, do one a person doing and a person that like you are doing and they are doing, right?
Mhm.
And the reason why I'm struggling with those words is because it's not always just two people.
Yeah.
The wheel of consent often feels very two people-y. But this idea that like the wheel of consent is used a lot in sex therapy, and so my example is going to be sex therapy, but it's really about everything. It's about I talk to my daughter about like people need to ask consent before touching our hair. You know, we need to ask consent before giving people hugs. We need to consent.
Yeah.
But here's my example. So my partner wants me to do something because they really like it and it brings them a lot of pleasure, and it doesn't really do anything for me.
Mhm.
But I'm not like opposed to doing it, and I'm not doing it to just like appease or because I feel coerced or anything
Or
like that
obligated.
or obligated.
Mhm.
I can still consent to do that with them, even though it's not technically a hell yes for me.
Yeah.
And so those nuances of what
Mhm.
consent can look like
Mhm.
really is brought up a lot in the wheel of consent. So looking at like, uh, this is for you, this is for me when I'm asking for consent for things
Mhm.
is so important. And so I hope, I mean, we can talk about it more, but I hope you can like click on the link below.
Yes.
I don't know how
Yes.
it works with the
Yes,
podcast,
you
but
will. You
yeah,
will be able to
and
click
check
on the
it
link
out.
in the show notes.
And then in the same place, because Betty Martin is the originator of this, she also has a 3-minute like activity that you can do with a partner or in a relationship structure that like has
Mhm.
you practicing asking for exactly what you want
Mhm. Beautiful.
in the ways of giving and receiving and all these different
Mhm.
things, and it's really beautiful. And so I think that that's a really important like resource and tool that many people have never heard of.
Yes, it is. I absolutely agree. And you know, in the context of relationships and the scripts that we play out in our relationships, I think this tool is can be so liberating and so consciousness raising about
Yeah.
it. Like
Yeah.
I think too about just the way when I talk to uh, women identified folks who are mothers, and the ways that they say it feels like that they're the default parent,
Mm.
right? Like it just defaults to them to do the emotional soothing of a child or to plan the
Mhm.
dinners for the family,
Mhm.
right? And what in this gray area of consent, it brings into attention, like, am I consenting to this not from a default, but because I am choosing it, even if it's not a hell yes for me?
Yeah.
Or do I need to ask for something
Yes.
different within my
Yes.
relational context because I'm
Yeah.
doing this and I'm doing it because I think I should, but I don't actually feel a sense of sovereign choice here. I feel like I just
Yeah.
have to. So I haven't actually consented to it. When you're doing something because you feel like you have to or don't have any other choice, that's not
Yes.
consent.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
go ahead. Go ahead,
No,
Kelsey.
this just reminds me, I fell into those scripts as a mom. And yeah.
Yeah.
And when we got a divorce, I felt like I was single parenting pre-divorce. We parent way better now. I feel like another way that I think people can learn when you're married or together, learn from the divorce community of how to co-parent. Not all of them, but like there's some really beautiful co-parenting that happens. And I love my co-parent, and I love how we are parenting our child now. And there's still some struggles that I was thinking about when you were mentioning that. He sucks at planning. I spent at least 10 hours for the last few months going over our co-parenting schedule for the summer, scheduling like 5 different camps for her to go to, who's going to watch her when we're going to need my parents to step in, all these different things. I kept on asking, like putting in comments like, hey, what do you think about this? No response. But I will tell you this, when that used to happen, I would get so frustrated. I would be mad because I'm like, it always goes to the like AFAB or femme person, and all these different frustrations in my head. But recently, actually in the last year, I was like, I'm going to choose. I'm going to choose. The important thing, the goal, is that my daughter gets what she needs. Not that I teach him to not. I thought that I was enabling him. So I'm not going to do it. But my daughter was the one that was getting hurt in that. So I was like, I'm going to choose. I'm going to ask him for the things, which I've been doing. And if he just like can't show up in that way, then I need to choose. I am owning my response. I am owning what I'm doing. And when I decide that I'm going to do it, when I choose, a lot of that resentment and frustration just fell away. And so me doing those 10 hours, I'm not gonna lie, little bits and pieces when he didn't reply, whatever. But like, I chose to do that because my daughter deserves that. And that's how I want to show up as a mom.
Yeah. That right there, Kelz, that is relational leadership. That is like such a beautiful example of everything that we like teach and support people in learning how to do in relationships, because it is liberation, and it's not ideal, and you're doing what you can to try to shift the dynamic with your co-parent and get what you need from him, but you can't control him, and carrying resentment about it doesn't actually help you. And so you are moving into conscious choice that is in alignment with the top value, which is your relationship with your daughter and how you're moving through the world energetically.
Yes.
And that's, and it brings me back to this idea of questioning everything. Why am I doing this? Why do I feel the way? What is really important here for me? These questions aren't just about who we are. They're about those scripts. It's about how we are living, the choices we're making, the meaning that we're giving to what's going on in our lives and what should be happening.
Yeah. And you said something really important there about like aligning with your values. I do a lot of work in sessions with folks around what are your values, and some people either can't name them or they name the 4 values that they chose for their small business. I'm like, okay, but what are your values? Like your core values in here. And then if we look at your life and your time and your energy and your choices, are those values showing up?
Yeah.
And a lot of the time, it's usually a mixed bag, right? But even for myself, sometimes I have to pause and just be like, okay, yes, right now I am pushing really hard on the gas pedal of my value of like advocacy and like radical anarchy and all of these things. Like, I don't want to be pushed into the script of a woman in the society and blah, blah, blah. But there are some other values over here that are being just dropped in the name of that one.
Yeah.
And if I look at it from that perspective, I don't want to be that person. It is actually not aligned. And so I think, like, when we're talking about questioning these scripts, I do think it is in while wearing our values as like what we're looking at them through, and our values might not be the same, and so we are going to come to different journeys or different decisions, but I want to be proud of my choices.
Yeah.
And the way to be proud of those is it in my values, and one of my values is authenticity. And so it has been important for me to live in certain ways out loud in every part, but that might not necessarily be the value that feels the most important in certain decisions for other people, right?
Yeah, 100%. Oh, that's so good. This is such an incredible conversation, and I really do think that we could make it into a 3-hour conversation easily. And I'm aware of our time, and so a couple of things before we wrap up our part of this conversation, Kelz. First of all, I want to ask, what do you see is possible for people on the other side of this work? Like, when someone actually does this and stops asking, is this normal? Is this how things should be? And start asking, does this fit me? Is this aligned for me? They build a life that honestly answers that question. Like, what happens? What opens up for them? What becomes possible that wasn't before?
Oh my gosh, that's a huge question. Um, what becomes possible? I mean, I think it goes back to just that liberation and that feeling and actualization of freedom within ourselves and in our systems, and building the communities that support that, and feeling authentic to yourself, feeling free. I truly believe so many people, if they really thought about it, feel confined. They feel like they're the bugs in the jar. And I wish that pleasure and that liberation for everyone. It doesn't have to look like my pleasure and liberation, but I know that it can be there for them.
Yeah. Yes. So good. And okay, so if you were to leave our listeners with just one key message, one thing you most want them to hear and remember from maybe from our conversation, maybe just in general, like, what would that be? What's the in your heart to say?
There is no normal.
Mm,
Our society wants us to believe that, and yes, there are the norms,
yeah.
but stop trying to be normal. If you need to set 30 alarms on your phone to be able to be on time and and you're that's fine. If you are queer and you want to live in, there is no actual normal. So how can we get out of that framework in order to do all the other things that we've been talking about today?
I love that. I love that. That's so good. Okay, Kels. So how can people learn more about you? How can they get in touch with you? Is there any way for people to work with you?
Yeah. So I am a therapist. I am taking new clients right now, actually, because I just started with a new practice, Rise Therapy Services. I'm in Michigan. So if you're in Michigan and Illinois, we can work together. And I'm working on my Colorado license, so coming soon. And I also am an artist. I have my first solo show coming up here in Detroit. It's actually showing currently at the Congregation in Detroit, and our opening is on June 13th. I'd love to see people there. And I also do like art experiences for people, healing art experiences. It's not art therapy, but it does combine my artist, my advocacy, my therapy, my educator hats. All the hats are combined into making like curated experiences. So you can find me at www.kelzcreates.com and also maybe on Instagram at kelz.creates.
Beautiful. And I will make sure that those links are in the show notes for you all. Kelz, thank you so much for this rich and meaningful and paradigm shifting conversation. There are like so many gold nuggets, so many like heart opening and life liberating ideas that that people can take away and can really change the trajectory of how they get to experience life and who they get to be. So thank you for being who you are in this world. I'm so glad you were born. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
And you know, and again, it just and it's so funny, y'all. We didn't plan it. That this conversation that is so centered on liberation and freedom, we didn't plan it to be on Juneteenth. It just so happened that this was the third Friday in June, and that's when I found and slotted Kelz in, and the universe orchestrated it. That's what I'm going to say. The universe orchestrated it because this conversation is just so perfect for this day. And you really are a gift to the world, Kelz. This conversation is a gift to the world. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having this platform for people to be able to hear these things, because this is the way that people start the process.
100%. Yeah. It's my honor.
Yes.
All right, love, I'm going to move you backstage and wrap this up.
All right. Bye.
Friends, was that not like so good? And Kelz just so amazing. I mean, I have a lot of amazing guests on this podcast, but Kelz, I really enjoyed that conversation. I hope that you did too. Now listen, if this episode like meant something for you, if you got something from this, and I believe you probably did, I can't imagine how you wouldn't. Could you do something for me right now? Will you subscribe to the Relationship Revolutionary podcast wherever you listen to podcasts? Leave us a review. Share this episode with one person who you think may need to hear the message. Your word of mouth is what gets this conversation into rooms that Kelz and I couldn't reach without you. Kelz's work deserves to be heard widely, and your word, your experience does too. If you want to help us activate and accelerate this revolution that we're about, this global movement, make sure that you engage with all of our content. Comment, like, subscribe to us on YouTube, share about Powerful Love's work, attend our events, and of course, do your part to continue leading with love. If you're looking for support yourself, please reach out. There are numerous ways that we can support you. And before I go, I want to make sure that you know about two of those ways. The first is completely free. I'm hosting a new masterclass called How to Get Your Partner to Finally Show Up the Way You've Been Asking Without Burning Out Trying to Make It Happen. And yes, I know the title is long, and I don't care because I believe that every word is doing an important job. This masterclass isn't a webinar where you just sit and listen to me talk to you, okay? It's not a tip session. This masterclass is an identity activation, my friends. This is a real shift in how you see your power and your relationship, regardless of what your partner is or isn't doing right now. So if you have found yourself asking, explaining, advocating, trying everything you know how to try, and still not getting the partnership that you know you deserve, this masterclass was made for you. It is a part of my mission to reach and change the lives of at least 1 million people. So I am hosting it regularly. The link to the next masterclass is in the description. Please sign up and do yourself a favor. Come. If you already know that you're ready for something even deeper, I want to tell you about the Third Path program. The Third Path is my 6-week program for the person who wants to stay in their relationship and change everything. It is the path between staying stuck and struggling or leaving. Okay. So you're staying, you're learning how to change everything, not by waiting for your partner to go first or to figure it out, but by learning how to move through your relationship from, as we talked a lot about today, your own sovereignty, your own consensual choice.